Something came from Baltimore.
Welcome to Something Came from Baltimore. My name is Tom Gowker, and I will be your host for the evening. And on the phone with me tonight is drummer Joe Gelini of the New Orleans Mardi Gras Indian jam band called Chawa. My People is the name of the album, and it's their third recording. It has a release date of April 2nd. There's 2 singles already out there called My People and Wild Man. If you are a YouTube listener, I totally recommend you check out Something Came from Baltimore. You'll have the opportunity to listen to the full interview. Also, if you have not subscribed to Something Came from Baltimore yet, what are you waiting for? We'd love to have you be a part of that Bmore music scene. Hi, guys. Something Came from Baltimore, the podcast, is now Something Came from Baltimore, the radio show. Check us out every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we chat with artists like Go-Go Penguin, Paula Cole, Al DeMola, and Kat Edmondson. Be a part of that Bmore music scene, now exclusively on thebox.com. If you're here, you're far from square.
But you're coming in hot, so I switched the plan. Said I wasn't gonna use it, but I got a little secret that they wish they had. I'm an Indian ruler. I said, Jock and Mofino, we bust that ass.
Welcome, Joe Gelini, to Something Came from Baltimore.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. You went to Berkeley School in Boston. And where were you born and raised at?
Yeah, that's correct. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. I was raised in New England. I lived in Rhode Island and, oops, give me one sec. I'm gonna plug this in. I was raised in Rhode Island and Connecticut until I moved to Boston for college. So I was, I grew up there until I was about 18.
Well, you're a drummer. That's where I was thinking, like, as you're a drummer, the hottest place in America to, explore your skill, I would say, would be New Orleans.
Yeah, both, literally and hyperbole.
Exactly. Did you know that you were going down to New Orleans right after school?
I would consider New Orleans to actually be the ultimate school of music. Berklee taught me some amazing technical things, and like as far as like music pedagogy and learning about harmony and arranging and ear training and all this like really cool music stuff. But New Orleans really it's part of the culture, so it's really it's more than the sum of the parts. And New Orleans ultimately is the place that is really where I wound up developing as a artist and a drummer.
You came down there around 2001. Katrina was 2005. Were you down there at that time period?
I was.
What was that experience like?
It's there's a lot to unpack there, but we evacuated last minute. My girlfriend at the time that I was living with, we evacuated to her parents' house the day before it hit, and we weren't able to return until the city reopened October 1st. And we were refugees. That was the way that they referred to all the people that had to evacuate New Orleans. And it was deeply troubling, and to see the level of devastation and all the people that were lost, and the culture that had been disenfranchised. And it was just you could talk about, I could talk about all the ways that was devastating to our community, not just myself, but everybody else. It was complicated, but the thing is that a lot of people were talking about how questioning whether New Orleans should even be rebuilt, and so today, many years later, it's just what a miracle to actually be in New Orleans and to have it thrive musically and culturally.
Yeah, the reason I went all the way back into that history, because there's a Baltimore connection between the show Treme. It was that HBO series.
Yes.
That came
The
out
Wire.
Yeah, The Wire. Yeah. What I love that show, and when I listened to your album, I thought of Treme, the show. And what I learned from that show is a couple things. Is one, the show was identifying how if you once you regentrify a city after disaster, you're stripping away poor people, you're disenfranchising them, they're moving out of the area, and they're the core, the lifeblood of culture. So when you regentrify, you remove culture. So I wanted to know if that was something that at this point you're saying that that's kind of rebound and found its own way, or
I think that it's
little both,
I think
maybe.
there's a tremendous amount of disenfranchisement for the Black community, and for just for there was and continues to be so much poverty in New Orleans. So it's such a complicated subject, but basically the Black people, especially that lived in, if you're talking about gentrification, the people that lived in many neighborhoods, like traditionally Black middle class neighborhoods, like the Treme and others like that. It's been very much gentrified, and a lot of people can't afford to, that are historically from those neighborhoods, can't afford to live there anymore, and it's absolutely changing the culture. And I think that one of the things that we try to do with Chawa is to be able to be a conduit to being able to keep some of those traditions alive with Mardi Gras Indian music and brass band, second line music. It changes every year, and that now the thing that's even potentially worse than Katrina is COVID, and musicians are not able to be able to, they're not being supported financially. We're really getting hung out to dry here.
Can I get to make a counterfeit? How the big chief for the guardians of the flame. Mardi Gras day, I shoot the fire in the game. I make Lou Dewey body bum bow. I go to St. Louis Cemetery, roll that lightning, bark at thunder, kick down the tombstones, wake up the dead and make them hum bow. I call, hey, mama.
The second part of that show was the Indian culture, the explanation of Indian culture. And it was really weird, because I don't really feel that Treme even scratched the surface. And it seems still like a really rich history of America that is not fully I guess, developed. Like, people are not really aware of it unless you're down there at New Orleans or you've studied it. So I felt that was really extremely interesting, and I think it's really cool. One of the pieces of the show was that they brought an Indian elder to perform with his son, and now it seems very similar to kind of what you guys are doing now.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually based on, I think I would be fairly correct in saying that was based on Donald Harrison and his father, who actually made a record together that was basically the premise of that storyline. And they had this collective. Dr. John was on it, and then other members of the rhythm section, but they were basically doing this real like crossover thing where they were including like New Orleans jazz with Mardi Gras Indian chants, and that was done before Katrina, but that's I'd say that's one of the most important albums that's come out of the city, as far as being able to push the boundaries of Mardi Gras Indian music. So Donald Harrison Sr. was a big chief. Donald Harrison Jr. is currently a big chief, and they had a very dynamic musical relationship.
Is there healing? Like, this is where I'm still, I was doing a little research, but are there healing elements for the big chiefs, or other than that they're leading their troop? Is there any kind of mystical or spiritual elements to them?
Well, you'd have to ask them, but as far as what my experience has been working with some of the big chiefs like Monk Boudreaux and Bo Dallas Sr., and then a lot of others, is that, first of all, there's a cultural aspect of it that the more modern big chiefs that started, probably with, a lot of people say, Tootie Montana, is that they changed the culture into being able to compete with different tribes based on the artistry of sewing the Indian suits, rather than settling differences with fighting or with violence or something like that had been more the case that would happen in the earlier in the history of it. But as far as having played a lot with Monk Boudreaux, I think they're paying homage to their ancestors. That's the whole point of Mardi Gras Indian culture, is that their ancestors, slaves that escaped through the swamps in New Orleans and were taken in and protected by the local Native American communities, and they had shared oppression, and then they created these families that were both Native American and African American. On Mardi Gras Day, when they come out with their new suits, they're paying homage to these ancestors. So I'd say that there's a definite thread that runs as far as like them feeling the spirit, in whatever way they choose to do that. But just having the ability to play and be around Monk and some of these other chiefs, they're definitely tapping into something that is power greater than themselves.
Who are you? I'm Simon. I represent an organization that deals with people. I
got some esoteric questions. Did you play Charlie in Seeking Justice in 2011?
Yes.
Okay, how about that for that random? Okay, that was a Nick Cage film. It was a 6.4. Do you feel that in Rotten Tomatoes, if you feel that you had you had a bigger role, that maybe the number would be a little higher, like fan appreciation.
Next question.
You got it.
And good evening once again, everybody, from the Louisiana Superdome.
And they're here for the return in New Orleans.
I felt like this is where I belong, to be a part of not only the rebuilding of an organization, but also a city and a region.
Look out, right through! A kick block by Steve Gleason. It is still...
Quarterback Drew Brees, is he coming back next year or not?
He's always welcome.
Yeah.
But you know, from everything that I've seen, you know, the talking heads are saying that he's going to retire, but he's just been amazing for he's just been amazing to watch, you know, like to be the one thing that really was able to make everything cohesive for the city coming back after Katrina were the Saints.
Yeah.
And you know, you can say a lot about different things about Drew Brees, but they started a revolution that you know, it was the one thing that you could look forward to in the morning, was reading the paper about the Saints, you know, back in 2006, about how they hired Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and you know, the rest is history.
The Dirty Dozen Brass Band and the Rebirth Band are able to tour across America relentlessly. I mean, I've seen both of them multiple times. Are you guys more tethered? You have a teaching gig. You're more centered in New Orleans. Do you have are you limited as a group on how you can tour weekends, maybe summers, or are you able to tour the world?
Oh, well, I mean, I used to teach on a much more regular basis. Right now, I'm pretty much doing Chawa full time. So, you know, I mean, during the pandemic, I think everybody's had to figure out ways to be able to, you know, monetize what they're doing. And some of us, you know, teach to a certain extent. But when we're able to fully get back on the road again, you know, we have a pretty rigorous touring schedule. So everybody's, you know, in a very dedicated band. So, you know, this is really our first priority.
Yeah, this is you got the album out. You're ready for a summer tour. You're ready to hit the road. Get these shots going. You know.
Yeah, get you know, keep masking up and get the vaccine. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible in my mind that all these outside venues, like over the summer, maybe if people are wearing masks, maybe that would be a possibility. But we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, we actually have our CD release party scheduled. We just announced it for April 3rd, and it's going to be outdoors at the Broadside Theater. It's a you know, proper socially distanced protocol outdoor venue, and you know, the seating is separated with social distancing, and you know, we're looking forward to playing our new music.
Yeah, but well, let's get into this album. So My People is the name of the album. The first single was My People. It's already out there and on Spotify land. I feel uncomfortable like reviewing these, explaining what I think about these songs. They're all really good. Like in My People, I was like, oh, it starts out with a little Ray Charles organ riff. The percussion's fantastic, and then it goes a jam. It reminds me of the Meters and Bob Marley. But I don't even want to give these reviews because I feel that I'm not worthy. How's that? I just want to. Can I? And I never did this in my 200 interviews. Can I just say it's My People and you tell me what's going on and we'll play the music? I did it for each.
Say it again. I'm sorry. I didn't quite get that all. So can you say that again?
We always like to play a couple of tracks of the album, like a segment of it, and I don't want to give my analysis of what I think. I'm digging it, but I think it's really light and fluffy. So if I go through the songs, can you just explain, you know,
sure. Yeah, but and as best that I am able to.
Sure. So the first song on the album is the first single. It's called My People.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't write the song. Our trumpet player Aurelian and our keyboard player Andrew Yanofsky wrote it. It was really like lightning in a bottle that came basically with the whole song, with the demo. They had, all the parts, all the clapping and the percussion and the beat and all the harmony, everything really mapped out, and the band just effectively played it. So they did a fantastic job on that right out of the gate. And I think it's the way that I look at it is it's a rallying cry. And if you listen to the lyrics, it has some environmental aspects as well as the obvious, social justice part of it. And it's we love playing it. And I think that it really kind of speaks to the gravitas of what we're going through right now as a society.
It feels like a kind of equal rights and get up, stand up combo. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. It's a blender of stuff.
A lot to unpack in that song, but the lyrical content, if you really study the lyrics, it's pretty deep.
Rich people living in paradise. Poor people under the bridge at night. Oh yeah. Most people know what it takes to survive. Well, my people know how to do it and thrive. Oh yeah. My people, we've been left behind before. My people, devil's knocking on your door. My people said so many had to go. My people, and we still here, and one day we gon' all be in the same boat.
The second song is the second single. It's out right now. It's called Wild Man. Talk about that.
Yeah, Wild Man is our guitar player, Ari Seidel, wrote that song. Similar thing. He really came to the band with exactly his vision of it. And it's about the member of the Mardi Gras Indian tribe called the Wild Man, who he's the one that really protects the big chief. And if you see the Wild Man in the tribe on Mardi Gras Day, while the tribes are parading through the back streets of the neighborhood, the Wild Man will like make a hole in the crowd. He'll create, it's called Wild Man because he gets wild, like he really he jumps around. He kind of like gives everybody a heads up and a warning that the big chief is coming through. If you're standing in the way of the big chief and the Wild Man's there, he's going to convince you to move out of the way.
He'd be the Jerome to the Morris Day.
I don't know that I would make that comparison. He'd
be the
sort of like he's sort of.
He'd be the Suge Knight.
No, not like that. He's the guy that really is like, his one job is to protect the chief. And as the big chief comes through, who can in some cases be like he's the leader. The big chief's the leader of the tribe and commands the highest respect. So the Wild Man is there to run interference, so that he's there to really make everybody know that the big chief's coming through and you better get on out the way.
You took that real serious. That I got it.
Well, the thing is that before I started playing with this band and started this band, before I played it with Monk Boudreaux in the streets, and I played with these tribes, and I go out for all the holidays, I play bass drum, which they call the boom boom, on all these days. And it's intense, man. There's a lot going on, and you better keep your eyes open and make sure that you are respecting the culture, especially as a transplant. I consider myself really like to be a guest of the culture, and I have tremendous reverence for everybody that's in the Mardi Gras Indian community, and the amount of work that they do, and the length of the tradition that they're carrying on for hundreds of years. I mean, it's sacred to me. Morning Glory was written by our lead singer, Joseph Boudreau Jr., who is Monk Boudreau's son, and the second chief of the Golden Eagles. Yeah, it's basically, about, describes the morning, Mardi Gras morning, when they're coming out to mask and, debut their suit that they've been sewing and constructing for basically like almost a full year. The feeling of the transformation that you go through from being yourself to this sort of like alter ego that you have as being a member of the tribe, and being in presenting the suit. It's like I said, there's a lot of sort of like a sacred feeling to doing this, and the fact that the roots go back to paying homage to their ancestors, especially under such duress. There's I think probably like a bit of an out of body experience that one would feel if they're going through that. So yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Morning glory. Sky with the holler, say what he say. Morning glory. Say flag boy, jumping got kill our way. Morning glory. Wild man jumping, going up and down. Morning glory. He gon' bring his chief all over town. Morning glory. He sold that morning, he sold all night. Morning glory. It's the feeling that you feel when you got it right. Morning glory. Got on all glass stones and I'm feeling good. Morning glory. Let's bring my gang to the neighborhood. Tell my story.
I got two more songs for you. Uptown.
Yeah, Uptown's great. Another great song that definitely is inspired by like the Uptown Rulers, like the Neville Brothers and the Meters. There are basically three regions that the Mardi Gras Indians represent: either uptown New Orleans, downtown New Orleans, or across the river. And basically, so like uptown Indians have they literally make different types of suits than downtown Indians. The downtown Indians have and they incorporate more three-dimensional designs in their suits, whereas the uptown Indians have probably a more traditional way of sewing the suits. They're usually on they're all on canvas, but they actually will like sew them without a rack, and they'll do it some of the nuances of the way that they make their suits. And there's a tremendous amount of pride from what neighborhood you come from in New Orleans. So if you're like coming from uptown, there's sort of a rivalry between uptown Indians and downtown Indians. And it's just kind of like like the Golden Eagles, which is the tribe that Booga, or the nickname of our lead singer, comes from. And it's basically talks about like just the pride of that, representing that neighborhood.
from way uptown. Early Mardi Gras morning, a boom boom shaking the ground. Hear the fireball hollering now, all across the town. We won't bow down, y'all, cause we don't know how.
Okay, now I'm assuming a second line means like the trumpet line or the drum line. What is a second line?
Well, the famous, infamous drummer Johnny Vodakovich was asked that question, and he said, well, all you need to know is you don't want to be in the first line. So, basically, a second line describes traditionally when they're in New Orleans, when we have funerals, we have them with music. And basically, especially primarily in the African-American community, the Black community, as the transition is, as the casket is being taken out and put into the hearse to go to the graveyard, there will be, or from the hearse to the gravesite, there will be very somber, sacred music, and and it'll be slow. It's usually like a funeral march, like a dirge, and then as the body's being, in the hearse or in the grave, the music will become upbeat, and they will sing like fast, more celebratory. It's like a celebration of life at that point. Basically, like the first line would be considered like the casket and the like the pallbearers, and then the second line is basically the band and every band. And there's a tradition in New Orleans that as you go through the neighborhood and you are then in the celebration of life part, people from the neighborhood just join in, and they just follow the this like celebration, and they sing and they dance, and they might be drinking a beer or celebrating, smoking, whatever they're doing, and that's the second line. Yeah, so it's really like it's New Orleans, like, is all about tradition. So so when we talk about and then there's correspond to that, there are second lines that are held that are, they have these things called social aid and pleasure clubs in New Orleans, and they were basically like started, because they were basically like fraternal organizations that were private, and were like, there were private clubs, and it would be for Black people because they couldn't get, well, one of the reasons is that they were unable to get to be insured, so because of racism and whatnot, but they would start their own private clubs, and their dues would, one of the things that their dues would go to would be to have a like a funeral with the hearse and the band, and pay for the burial and all that. that stuff. It's almost kind of like a life insurance policy. These organizations, every year, they would each have a second line, like a celebratory parade on Sundays, and every Sunday, except for like in the hottest part of the summer, pre-COVID, they would have these parades. Sometimes, multiple organizations would get together and have like a long parade, and they would come out and they dress in these like elaborate, like amazing custom-made suits or dresses if it's a female club, and they have a brass band, and it's just like this thing that anybody can participate in. It's free, and they would like have these things, and it's like a gathering place that people in the community go to, and people like there are all these like people kind of like doing these like side hustles of like making barbecuing, or like selling beer out of a cooler or water, or making some sort of like red beans and rice or something like that. And like people, you go out and you get yourself like a hot sausage po' boy, that somebody's making on their barbecue grill, on the route of the second line, and they'd have a few bands playing. They'd just be rocking like all throughout the street, and people dance. And second line is a style of dancing that's a New Orleans style, like almost kind of like based on some of the old like African traditional dances. And so there's a whole history to it. And so like Second Line Girl basically is like about going to a second line and going to the parade, and then seeing like like just falling in love with a girl that's like dancing the second line on Sundays in New Orleans. And like everybody, like not everybody, I mean, you can wear whatever you want, but like a lot of times like people are dressed to impress.
Second line girl, you rule my world. Light my fire, I just want you to be my girl. Lighten up the scene, a little town called New Orleans. I think we ought to do like we want together and conquer our dreams. Sunday morning getting fresh, about to head out the door. Gotta call my tutu wine, gotta go to the store. You know just what it's fighting, cause the barbecue smoke, blue skies and sunshine, if you poppin', then the second line.
Wow, your life sucks. This whole story sounds terrible. It sounds what a great great time. It really does. And it seems so weird that, like, I mean, you're very lucky that you're able to be immersed in it and embrace everything. It feels like life has more importance or more value because of the history and the sense of community that New Orleans has.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I always say that, in a very respectful way, that I'm a guest of the community. Like I did not grow up here, although I came here as a young man. So I feel like I've got some skin in the game. But as far as like, being embraced by like the Mardi Gras Indian community, just been absolutely magical and miraculous, and just such I've had so many teachable moments, about some of my own like white privilege, and being able to like work with a lot of guys in New Orleans, and I'm on the road with these guys, and you wind up seeing firsthand like all the subtle nuances of how racism is inflicted upon these guys. I mean, just this, such, it's sometimes very subtle, sometimes not subtle at all, and very in your face. And to see what this like the culture and the community goes through, and then realizing, you know, like all of the sort of like white privilege that I have, it's just been a very, you know, it's just been a very eye-opening experience about, you know, what sort of just the way that the world works, and the sense of community in New Orleans is just, I mean, that's why I live here. You know, it's like, and then music is a part of the culture. You know, it's a living, breathing aspect of it. It's not something that's just monetized and, you know, like put into a concert entertainment form. It's literally part culture and part of the way that, you know, express ourselves and honor traditions. And it's something that is incredibly organic. And you know, I think, you know, in my opinion, having been all over the world, there are very few places that that compare to New Orleans in that sense. And the, you know, it's the cradle of American music. You know, you can make, there are like threads that go all the way back to the beginning of American music. Like, you know, we play with members of the community that have done this since before jazz was born, or before ragtime, or, I mean, the Mardi community goes back, you know, like to, you know, in some cases they say like the 1700s, you know. So as long as there's been action in New Orleans to Black people, you know, or people of color, Native Americans, has really existed. So, I mean, it's the importance of it and the significance and the relevance of it, you know, in today's society is just so important. A tremendous sense for it.
I think I'm jealous. I have a friend, his name's Lafayette Gilchrist. He actually had a song on the Wire soundtrack from Baltimore. He has New Orleans in his blood, and he's never been down there. I just did an interview on his last album, and I said, you know, I'll create a GoFundMe. I said, you're a teacher, everything you're doing on Zoom right now. I said, get your ass down there for a year, absorb as much as you can, and write it off as, you know, for your next album. And, you know, after I left it in the interview, you know, and I followed up with him. I said, do you want me to start a GoFundMe site to get your ass down to New Orleans? I said, for some reason, he's from DC, and he has go-go, like real go-go and New Orleans stuff, like kind of ripped through his DNA as to what he does. And he said, don't do the GoFundMe. He goes, I'd be embarrassed. I said, well, if I win the lottery, I'm definitely send your ass down there. What a missed opportunity. Just go. Yeah, if we can get him $40,000 to get down there for a year, he should take advantage of it.
It's an incredible place.
Yeah, definitely. Like life is some people are afraid to travel and try things, and whatever. So we're at the end. I thank you very much, and you gave me more I thought. And the weirdest thing about these songs is that every single one of them have like a backstory that I had no idea. So it would be interesting if you were able to do a video documentary of the album, kind of explaining to people, you know, like maybe a 20-minute run, and say this song means this song means that, type of it. Because, you know, I think people are thirsty for information that you know that we're not aware of. Just an idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, because I mean, everything that you told me was, you know, I'm going like, wow, this song jams. This is awesome. But there's more to it, and I think that's important. That changes the whole dynamic of the song. If people can seek it out, I think. It's
yeah. I mean, that kind of the whole point is that we're reinterpreting some of these traditions and messages that are, hundreds of years old, but we're doing it in the context of our own generation and our own voice.
Joe Gelini, thank you for joining me today on Something Came from Baltimore.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Take care, my man.
All right. Thanks for doing this for me.
right.
We'll probably release this a little closer to the release date of the album. I moved to Philadelphia 2 weeks ago, so I'm a little backed up on stuff. A little behind the gun. All right.
I got you.
Okay. All right.
Man.
Thank you.
Take care. Appreciate
bye-bye.
it. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Spy boy hollering at the crack of dawn. Letting everybody know the Ninjas on their way. My father told me, son, you got to cry. Just don't let nobody take it. So I told my gang, meet me out there on the battlefield. Oh, if you died that morning, make sure you bend not kneel. Well, I'm gonna tell you a story about how it feels when it's better shooting in the sky. And it's shining like a star jumping around, shooting Kuna Funa with a wagon wheel. Oh, he fell.
Thank you for listening to Something Came from Baltimore, the show. You don't have to wait every week to hear a show. You can just subscribe to the podcast and just flip it to 5 people, because we want you to be a part of that Bmore music scene.